most importantly, I would like a standing ovation for the patriot. He's in London. So, who read Major Gaurav Arya's letter? Only you.
How many letters?
So I'll just tell you a short, very short introduction of Major Arya, but his introduction is going to be like much longer, and I will let his words do the talking for him, because he is a true patriot in the truest sense. I've not seen a person who's fought on the ground in the battlefield, as well as even though he's had an accident and he's unable to fight on the border in the battlefield, he's carried on fighting for the honor of the country. And I hugely respect him. And there is one person who is responsible and single-handedly sort of responsible for actually helping us invite him here. Shweta, you please stand up. We have a speaker as well, I can sort it as we speak. So it's over the years we've seen our team coming together, and it has been expanding and expanding, and I look around the room and I see all of India and I see all of the United Kingdom here from up and down the country. So a big round of applause, all of you, for making it here, even though it's a Thursday. Now about Major Gaurav Arya. Major Gaurav Arya is a war veteran turned writer, media man, and you've all seen him in the much acclaimed Republic channel conducting the show Patriot, that talks about the armed forces, our soldiers. And I don't remember, except for the serial Fauji, any other channel, any other show dedicated to the armed forces. And so big congratulations, Major, for actually having done that and brought the real lives of armed forces before us. And as you all know, as you must have read on the posters, we dedicate tonight to the memory of those we have lost, to remember and to encourage those who are continuing to fight and their families who are living without them on years sometimes. And it's not easy, as you all know, to lose a loved one, and to lose a loved one temporarily to duty. And those families have respected their call of duty and continued living their life as if nothing's happened, even though they've lost their loved ones permanently. So it's an honor to be dedicating tonight to the memory of our Indian Armed Forces. So Major Arya's open letter to the Kashmiri youth separatists in reference to their idolized hero, Burhan Wani, and we all know Burhan Wani in this country now. He was a terrorist who was killed by the armed forces. That went viral overnight, and I will let Major tell you a little bit about what happened and what happened thereon and before then. He has been very vocal about his sort of support for the armed forces. He's one of them, and has spoken up very heavily, but very calmly against the separatists and the terrorists. And I especially commend him for his stand of peace and harmony, even though he comes from the fighting forces. And as we all know, that in this country we are especially threatened by the separatists and people who are trying to spread misinformation. And every time you hear of the Indian Armed Forces in this particular building, Bob will agree, and many of you will agree who will have watched it, it's always in a very negative tonality. So we decided that this year, while we are paying our respects to the armed forces, why not bring to the table the real truth? And why not let an army person tell you what actually happens? Please do sit down, there must be seats here somewhere. So I will actually just read out a short excerpt of his letter, and then I will leave the floor to our Honourable Chair, Mr. Bob Blackman. So he wrote, a part of that letter is, the day you started your social media blitzkrieg, you were a dead man. You encouraged young men of Kashmir to kill Indian soldiers, all from behind the safety of your Facebook account. Those of you who are not on Facebook, this is social media, internet. You died when you were 22. Had you survived this operation, you would have died when you were 23. Just a different date on the calendar, that's all. The intensity of violence and the result would have been the same. And I will now request Honourable Bob Blackman to welcome you all. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lakshmi, for that kind introduction and starting off this meeting in an appropriate manner. Because we should pay tribute to those who put their lives on the line every single day in order to promote peace. I've never had the opportunity of serving my country in the armed forces, but I do know many who have, and I know many in the Indian Army who do on a regular basis. They will all say the same thing. They don't want to fight anyone, but they are prepared in case they need to defend their country. And they put their lives on the line every single day. So we pay tribute to those honourable people who put their lives at risk for the sake of their country. Now, I have had the pleasure of speaking about Jammu and Kashmir for some 27 years. For those of you that don't know in this room, I grew up and was educated in Wembley. And during my time at school, the first people from Uganda arrived in this country and made Wembley their home. They moved on to Leicester and other places as well, but large numbers came to Wembley, and we welcomed them. They came, as many of them came to my school. They were slightly confused, because they'd never seen snow before. They spoke better English than we did, and they were better educated than we were. But they arrived and were rather confused, being uprooted from the country that they either lived in or had arrived in their early years, and just being unceremoniously kicked out. So they were the first refugees. So I grew up with them, and many of them are still my friends today. But then, when I had the honour, I was elected to Brent Council back in 1986, and I was made leader of the council back in 1991. And we held a conference in Brent Town Hall on Jammu and Kashmir and the plight of the Kashmiri Pandits. This was an attempt at genocide. Genocide in the Kashmir Valley, where people were forced out at the point of a gun with the cry of either die or convert. And men were forced to leave, literally at gunpoint, and told, leave your women behind, we want your women, we will convert them and force them to be part of Islam. Now, we condemn, absolutely, utterly condemn those reactions and what happened during that time. And literally, thousands of people were forced to leave their home, and many of them are still refugees around the world. We have welcomed many to the United Kingdom, but still the fight for justice for the Kashmiri Pandits continues to this day. And I've had the opportunity of visiting Jammu and Kashmir. I think I'm probably the last member of Parliament in the UK to have visited Jammu and Kashmir.
Yep.
I had the opportunity, thanks to Lakshmi, who organised the trip, of going to Srinagar and seeing at first hand, and meeting at first hand, people from the Hindu faith, the Sikh faith, and the Muslim faith, all of whom actually want peace and tranquility in that area because they recognise the beauty, so the opportunities for tourism are fantastic. It's just a beautiful part of the world. And undeniably, what an opportunity it would be if there was peace, that we could actually promote peace in that area. The opportunities for agriculture and for exporting agriculture. It is a wonderful place where so many crops are grown, and the opportunities for exporting goods around the world are legion. But the security issues cause problems and prevent it. Equally, the opportunities for further manufacturing and other types of activities. hydroelectric power from this great area. All opportunities that could be taken up if there were peace in the valley. So I also had the opportunity when I went to be hosted by the Maharaja's grandson and his family, meeting many people at first hand. It was a unique and special opportunity for me, particularly, as I said, that I've been speaking about this issue for some 27 years. I always say to parliamentary colleagues and others, always be cautious about the views you express until such time as you've seen the position on the ground. Having seen the position on the ground, I can say with confidence that there is a wonderful future for the state of Jammu and Kashmir, provided we can get peace. Now, more recently, actually you will be aware that we had the Conservative Party conference. And at the Conservative Party conference, I attended, as I always do, and we had a mini invasion of Conservative friends of Pakistan. I can say with confidence that at that event there were more Indians there than there were Pakistanis. I took the opportunity of confronting the Pakistani ambassador, who said, "Oh yes, I want to come and talk to you about the human rights violations in Kashmir." And I said, I'd be delighted. I'm delighted to have that discourse. Do you want to come and talk to me about the state-sponsored terrorism that takes place from Pakistan into Jammu and Kashmir? No. I want to talk about the human rights violations by the Indian Army and the pellets and the other dreadful means that the army uses to suppress the people. So I said, well, can I tell you that what happened in India when there was these allegations of this was the Indian government and the Jammu and Kashmir state government set up an inquiry into what was going on. That's what goes on in a democracy. When there's allegations, an inquiry is set up. And then whatever happens as a result of that inquiry will be actually implemented. Does that happen in Pakistan? I said to him. Well, indeed. So I said, oh, perhaps actually you'd like to come and talk to me about the illegal occupation of part of Jammu and Kashmir by the Pakistani army. Perhaps you'd like to talk about the terrorist camps that you allow to continue in Pakistan to inflict their damage on Jammu and Kashmir. By the way, at this point in time, the ambassador's minders were creeping closer and closer towards me. We had a brief further discussion. I said, well, perhaps you'd like to talk to me about the violations of human rights that go on in Pakistan with the oppression of minorities in Pakistan. I have received that. Perhaps we should talk about the other issues around the people of Pakistan and other parts of Pakistan who wish to be independent from Pakistan. So if we want to talk about these, I'm very happy, but unless you want to come and talk to those and actually address them, frankly, don't even bother. And it is a key point, and this is the point that I'm very passionate about, is that we should, in Parliament, be well informed about these issues and not listen to the whispers and controversial comments being made by other people who don't have the knowledge but are just hear propaganda from other people. So what I've also said, Lakshmi, as you probably know, is that to counter this propaganda and to counter the views that is constantly coming out, that we should create the all-party parliamentary group for Jammu and Kashmir, and we are launching it tonight. And obviously, part of the central aim of that, and we will go through and actually can detail the aims and objectives of the all-party parliamentary group, because obviously what we seek to do is to make sure that the truth comes out about what is going on in Jammu and Kashmir, what happened in terms of the history, both the decisions made by the Maharaja on accession, and as he said, we have a copy of the treaty here for public display. This has pride of place on my wall in my office, so you can be rest assured it is there for inspection if anyone chooses to look at it. But equally, we want to set up friendly relations with everyone across Jammu and Kashmir so that we could realise the potential of the state and prevent the propaganda from spoiling the opportunities of the state. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I warmly welcome you to this committee room. I've been on my feet, one or two people know today, I've been defending the position of human rights for Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh in Westminster Hall this afternoon, and equally defending the fact that we held 2 receptions last week, one under the Hindu Forum Britain, where we celebrated Diwali on the terrace, and we had a number of members of the government and other MPs present. And indeed, later that evening, we held a meeting at the behest of the National Council of Hindu Temples on the abuse that Hindus suffer right across Bangladesh, Pakistan, and I'm afraid in parts of India as well. So we've got the evidence there. Now, one of those figures was a rather controversial figure, as I discovered subsequently. And I've been busy in Parliament, indeed, defending that position and on the media today. But let me just say that at that reception and that seminar, we got evidence from Taipan Ghosh of the brutality that Hindus suffer. Now, I don't share, and I'll put this on record, I do not share the views that he expressed in tweets and other social media comments about Muslims and Islam in general. And I'm absolutely right in saying that the National Council of Hindu Temples does not share those views either. But it is important that we seek evidence from experts, because one of the things he has been able to do is help and assist Hindus that have suffered dreadful injuries and to assist them to be enabled to return to a civil society. But his more extreme views are not ones that I share, none of us share, and I think we should place on record a view in this gathering that those records are those views are unacceptable to us. Without reservation or a hesitation of any kind. And so we endorse that view, and I did in fact make that point in Parliament today in answer to one of the honourable members for Bradford, Naz Shah, who raised the issue and incorrectly, of course, alluded to the fact that I'd invited this individual to Parliament when I had not. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I warmly welcome you all here today. See some other notable figures arriving to join us as I sit down. And I'm looking forward to the debate, the discourse, and the opportunity to learn more and learn particularly at first hand what the brave Indian soldiers are doing literally every single day. Thank you very much and a warm welcome. Namaskar.
So, thank you, Bob, and thank you for defending the rights of minorities as well as the majority, always, and doing the righteous thing of speaking for everyone, including those who do not have a voice normally. A quick question, how many of you remember last year's Jammu Kashmir Festival?
Oh, yeah.
How many of you actually danced when the music was on? Come on, don't lie. I know who danced, including myself. Now, last year when we put together that whole program, why we did that was because normally when, in this country especially, and in the West in general, Major Saab, you should hear this, people think that it is only Kashmir. And unfortunately, our friends from Jammu and Ladakh do not get recognition. Whereas Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India and so it shall remain, as Bob will always say. Now, people here do not know what Jammu and Kashmir looks like, or what it feels like, what it tastes like. So last year, when we put together the Jammu Kashmir Festival, we invited a very, very notable performing arts group from Jammu and Kashmir, representing all the various regions of Jammu and Kashmir, including the tribal areas in Leh and Ladakh. And we had very young, very, very energetic artists, and you shared their energy not just at the Trafalgar Square in front of thousands of people, but also at the House of Commons, at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, at the Nehru Centre. They took London by storm. What we are guilty of not having done is take them to Manchester, Birmingham and higher up. And I promise that in days to come and in years to come, we will make up for that mistake as well. So our friends in the north who are watching the live feed or out here, I do apologize that we couldn't bring them up to you. Now, the other thing, the reason why we did, and when people actually saw their outfits, when they saw their dances, and when they saw their props, they realized that the daily life of Jammu and Kashmir across different regions. And I actually had friends from across the border saying to me that this has reminded me of my childhood. And that's what is the one thing that we must all remember. There are more reasons to unite us, to bind us, to keep us together. We are not here to spread divisive politics. That is not the idea. We are here to stand united against terror. And that is the only thing that we reject. And I hope I have you all Now, you know that the Indian diplomacy is represented by the Indian High Commission. And this is the year of UK-India, year of culture. And we have had some remarkable programs. We're almost coming towards the end of this year. And Madhuji, I hope that next year we will have some more lineup of programs and engagement. And it speaks volumes of the friendship that UK and India share. And I'm not going to speak for Madhuji, but I will invite Madhuji to speak about her impressions of UK-India relationship and also the Jammu Kashmir Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi. I'm going to read my text here because I have written it already. It's an honor and privilege for me to participate in the Jammu and Kashmir Day celebrations as a representative of the High Commission of India here. Ladies and gentlemen, since this day is being celebrated on the day of the signing of the instrument of accession of J&K to India by the then ruler of J&K, I would like to mention here that the cession of the state of Jammu and Kashmir took place as per the provisions of the India Independence Act 1947, passed by the UK Parliament, and this accession is legal and final. I would also like to stress that India is the most and the world's largest functioning, stable and secular democracy since its independence, and the democratic tenets that govern the rest of India have always held sway in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. For India, Kashmir is not a religious issue, and as a secular democracy, India is committed to protection and promotion of various rights of its citizens in the state within the constitutional and democratic framework. India is also committed to promoting the overall development of the state of Jammu and Kashmir with special emphasis on socio-economic development like any other state. I would like to express my sincere thanks to the Jammu and Kashmir Festival team, Mr. Bob Blackman, Mr. Virendra Shahwat, who is unable to come, and Lakshmi for hosting this event. And we commend your efforts in promoting social, religious and cultural harmony in Jammu and Kashmir, and in projecting the issues concerning the state and the people of Jammu and Kashmir before the world community in its right perspective. I wish you all a blessed new year ahead. Thank you.
Ma'am, I would like to just add that besides the cultural, social and heritage side of things, what we also tried to achieve last year, which you're probably aware of, is to look at the economic cooperation between that particular state and what they can receive from this country and vice versa. There's a lot of potential for economic cooperation that obviously Bob has hinted about a number of projects that Bob saw firsthand, and we have been exploring it since. Do you all want to come forward? There's some seats here. I'm sure you'll find some seats here. Now, the thing is, I'd like to tell you briefly what we tried to achieve last year, because that also lays out the template for what we are going to achieve in the years to come. Why it was important to showcase the cultural side was also because the heritage and the identity of many diverse communities. I'm not just talking about the Kashmiri Pandits or the Dogras or the Paharis or the Gojaris, a number of diverse communities, the way they dress up, what they eat, their cuisine. For the first time that recently I saw on social media, there's a book on Dogra cuisine. It's the first time that we've had a book on Dogra cuisine, which is really sad because Dogra cuisine has gone back many years. And I commend my friends. I don't see many friends from the Dogra community here today. Unfortunately, they're traveling, I think. But they have done a lot of work to lobby and raise the voice of their community, which is brilliant. And in doing so, we stand united as a state and as a nation first, as the soldier himself will tell you. Your identity as a nation comes first, and then your regional, your state and other identities follow. And let us not forget that even for 1 second. On the business side, we had a business roundtable last year. Many of you were not part of it because it was a smaller, a business people only meeting. What emerged was we had a lot of discussion around the Kashmir. We had a lot of interest in not just the handicraft, but a lot of technology projects, a lot of innovation, a lot of industry around small scale, small businesses. There are startups and there are incubators to help startups in J&K, and a lot of work is being done by. A lot of work is being done to harness the potential for the young people as well as the traditional businesses. So you've all heard of Pehelwans and other people. I have actually gone and met as part of the festival, effort to get them all on board. I did go and talk to them, and we started discussing the potential of having them come and have business opportunities here. And they are actively looking at it. One of the things that I would like to say that we did manage to also achieve was that Ladakh always had been sidelined whenever there was discussion of Jammu and Kashmir, because unfortunately the name of the state is Jammu and Kashmir, and it kind of naturally alienates Ladakh. So my feedback to Confederation of Indian Industry, who were our business partners around at that time, and I hope they continue to be partners with the festival team, was to invest their focus into Ladakh, because there are a lot of adventure sport opportunities, there's a lot of tourism opportunity, also spiritual tourism and religious tourism opportunities. There's huge potential in Ladakh alone. And following that suggestion, I've had meetings with the Minister of Culture and Minister of Tourism there in J&K as well, and they have taken that feedback on board, and they're working, they've set up a special unit now in Ladakh, and they're working dedicatedly to build that potential and to project it elsewhere. Recently, I think their teams have been traveling around the world showing off what they've got, and I think that is what we all need to do. I'll just shout out quickly to our young members from Jammu and Kashmir. It would be unfair to just shout out at them, but it's fairly late in the evening, and they have accompanied their parents, and I hope you enjoy listening to what you do. Just quickly stand up. Sheen, Rohan, Ishan, who else is there? Why I have shouted out to them is we keep talking about our youngsters, and I have to say a big thank you to our young children who were tirelessly volunteering at the Jammu Kashmir Festival stall. I remember that all the grown-ups, because we had been on our feet all day long, I especially was extremely tired, Sonal was with me. At one point we just sat at the back and let them take over. So the last couple of hours of the festival program at the Trafalgar Square was actually managed by Nanika, who's no longer with us right now, but she's here supporting us and encouraging us, and Sheen. and her friends Rohan and Ishan. And these 4 children were there at the forefront, which means that there is a huge scope for our children to take that baton forward, and that is reassuring for us. Now, without delaying, I know you all have burning questions, and you're all waiting to listen to the firebrand Major. Before I invite him to speak, I would actually like to present to him. It's not, for me it is a badge of honor because it has come after a lot of hard work. Madhu, do you remember this? So you can't obviously see this. This is the marigold. There's Rohan, who's just walked in. Hello Rohan, just called out to you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Indian symbol of remembrance for the Indian Armed Forces. And as we have the poppy in this country, and we are all very, very proud to show off the poppy in memory of the fallen, as well as remembering the sacrifices that our British Armed Forces make for us every single day. I would like to introduce you to the Indian symbol of remembrance, which is the marigold. And Bob and Mataji, may I request you to please adorn this on our Honourable Major. Now this for me again is very, very symbolic. From one soldier to another. And I think this will go down in history of time, perhaps, years later, our children will perhaps quote this. Now, we have almost an hour and 15 minutes, and I hope you have lots of questions, because if you don't, then it will be a shame, because this is a unique opportunity, and you must ask as many questions as you can. All the difficult questions, all the confusions that you've had, I've had many people from the floor ask me. Without delaying this any further, please, Maj Gaurav Arya.
Jai. I don't think I need this. No.
Recording.
Yep.
Guys, I think they're just recording for the camera there. You don't need, you can just put it on the table.
Okay.
It's just for the camera.
Thank you. It's a matter of great honour and privilege for me to be invited here, and I thank Honourable Mr. Bob Blackman, Lakshmi Kaul, Shweta Raghavan and the rest of the team who've done all this. I carry with me a little part of India, and I carry with me the spirit of the Indian soldier. Today, I will tell you what happened in Jammu and Kashmir. I will tell you about the role of the Indian Army, and I will tell you why we call it a moral army. There were more than 550 states, princely states, that acceded to India. Kashmir was one of them. And as Madhuji has rightly brought out, it was done as per an act which was passed in this very parliament here where we stand today. 9 weeks after independence, Pakistan attacked India. First, in the month of October, November, it sent in tribal lashkars. The Orakzais, the Yusufzais, the Afridis, they came. They stopped in Baramulla for 4 days. There were nuns there. They raped those nuns. They killed little children. That was the time when the Maharaja said that it's better to accede to India. He signed this treaty that you've all seen. And then 2 battalions of the Indian Army were airlifted. 1 Sikh and 4 Kumaon. I'm honoured to say that I'm from the Kumaon regiment and I'm wearing the regimental tie today. It's a special occasion. And in defense
defending Kashmir, in defending Jammu and Ladakh, Major Somnath Sharma was awarded posthumously India's first Paramveer Chakra. I am from Major Somnath Sharma's regiment. The war continued for over a year, and then there was a ceasefire. The line where both the armies stopped, eyeball to eyeball, was called the ceasefire line. And after 16th of December 1971, in which Pakistan was not only defeated but humiliated with 92,000 prisoners of war, the name and the nomenclature was changed from the ceasefire line to the line of control. This is the most heavily militarized zone on earth. I've had the unique honor of serving there, and I will tell you some stories. We must also know that the Shimla Agreement clearly points out that the issue between India and Pakistan is bilateral, and so it shall remain. Now, thousands upon thousands of soldiers have been martyred defending Kashmir, defending India and Kashmir. What exactly does the geography of Kashmir look like? The geography of Jammu and Ladakh. It starts from the Samba sector and moves right up to Partapur Base Camp, 102 Brigade, which is Base Camp Siachen. And from there the glacier starts. A lot of people say there is 7 lakh Indian Army, and what is 7 lakh Indian Army doing, 700,000 soldiers doing in Kashmir? First of all, the Indian Army strength in Kashmir is not more than 2,70,000. Number 2, the Kashmir border is a little different. We face China in Ladakh, and we face Pakistan in Kashmir and Jammu. We have a 760 kilometer long, very volatile line of control, and that line of control has to be defended. For 70 long years, the Indian Army has stood between India and misfortune. For 70 long years, and many wars, people have laid down their lives to defend the motherland. And today, on this solemn day, we remember them. In 1989, Kashmir exploded in everybody's face. And it was a direct result of the first so-called Afghan Jihad. In 1979, the Russian forces crossed the Amur River, crossed over into the Soviets crossed over into Afghanistan. They left in 1989, fueled by Stinger missiles and American dollars. It was that time that President Ziaul Haq launched Operation Topak. Phase 1 of Operation Topak was Kabul. Phase 2 was Srinagar. In the initial days, many of you would remember a group called the JKLF, the Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front. That was the first and the last group which had a Kashmiri name. Today, which are the groups that operate self-admittedly, especially in Kashmir? We have the Lashkar-e-Taiba, we have the Jaish-e-Mohammed, we have the Harkatul Ansar, we have Allah's Tigers, we have Al-Badr, and we have non-terrorist but highly militant outfits like Dukhtaran-e-Millat, which is headed by Al-Si Andrabi. Now, which of these names that I've taken are Kashmiri names? They're all Arabic names. They're not Kashmiri names. Kashmir is the only state in India with its own flag, its own constitution, and its own penal code. And yet, when you have street protests, when you have stone throwing, and when you have terrorist activity, what you see is ISIS flags. You do not see the flags of Kashmir. You do not see the flags of Jammu and Ladakh. You see the flag of the Islamic State. And this is where India and UK must partner. We're facing the same people, we're facing the same threats. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is not about some candy floss idea of freedom or azadi. You're facing Nizam-e-Mustafa. you are facing the Islamic State, and it's already made inroads into India. I have asked this question before, and today I ask this question again. People say children are injured by the armed forces. What kind of a parent, what kind of a mother or father would put a 5-year-old in front of a military bunker? Why would a person do it? I wouldn't put my child, you wouldn't put your child in front of a military bunker. They do it. They do it because overnight they wish to create martyrs. A shortcut to martyrdom. I have met soldiers in 92 Base Hospital in Badami Bagh, Kent, Srinagar, who tell me stories that when they were admitted in civil hospitals, especially Jammu and Kashmir police, when they were admitted in civil hospitals, they were assaulted by crowds. The crowds barged into OPDs. The crowds barged into ICUs, pulling the oxygen masks, pulling their IV lines. They had to be evacuated. When a protester is bleeding, hit by a pellet gun or hit by a bullet, when he's being evacuated in an ambulance to be taken to the hospital, the ambulance driver is beaten up or killed. And then the person is left there to bleed and die, and when he dies, you have a funeral the next day. 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh people. And suddenly, you have a martyr. And this whole hoopla, this whole tamasha about Burhan Wani, who created this? How many people knew Burhan Wani? He was known in Kashmir. He was known as a womanizer. He was known as a man who hid behind social media accounts. He killed village elders. He killed sarpanches. And one day they tracked him down and they killed him. Because treason is not a pardonable offense. If you lift up arms, you cannot take up arms against the state and expect mercy. There is a famous quote, a famous hadith, which I love the quote and I repeat it here today. शमशीर के साए के तले जन्नत पलती है. शमशीर के साए के तले जन्नत पलती है. Paradise is under the shade of swords. If you truly love your motherland, if you truly love your country, you must be willing to defend it with violence. You cannot defend India with peace. Peace is what we want, but you can negotiate for peace from a position of strength. You cannot go to the Wagah border. You cannot light candles and hope and pray that Pakistan will not attack. They say, why don't you vacate the Siachen Glacier? We vacated Kargil in good faith. It cost us 527 good men. Some of them were my friends, some of them were my brothers. Major Padma Pani Acharya, 2nd Battalion, the Rajputana Rifles, was my senior in the academy. He was awarded the Mahavir Chakra. And there were many like him who were martyred defending Kargil. And this problem with Pakistan will continue again and again and again. Why will it continue again? Because unfortunately we are not solving the right problem. Terrorists come inside India, we kill the terrorists. But where do the terrorists come from? Those terrorists are literally manufactured in Rawalpindi. They are made in Pakistan. And that is the problem. We are not solving the root cause of the problem. Now, in my heart, as a soldier, in my heart, I have no malice. I have no enmity with the common Pakistani. I look at him as a victim of his own circumstances. I have spoken to many Pakistanis face to face, over emails and phone calls. And they seem to me like us. They have the same concerns. But the problem here is the Pakistani army, the Pakistan deep state. So whom do we speak to? We have Modi ji going and speaking to Nawaz Sharif. And who is Nawaz Sharif? So they say that Nawaz Sharif said we must have peace with India, and then he came to London for a bypass surgery, and the joke is that after the bypass surgery, he had a change of heart. Now, what happened? He was paid a visit by the chief of the ISI. The chief of the ISI quietly came, said hello to him, and the entire stance of Nawaz Sharif changed. And overnight, the pigeon became a hawk. And that is what we're dealing with. India will not speak to Rawalpindi because democracies speak to democracies. And there is a certain protocol involved, but the Americans don't believe in that. So when the Secretary of State goes, or the Secretary of Defense goes to Islamabad, they will make that 20-mile pilgrimage to Rawalpindi and pay regards to the army chief, because they know exactly how Pakistan functions. I'm not saying that India should speak to the Pakistani army chief, no. But we must recognize the problem for what it is. It is a problem created by the Pakistani deep state. Again, Pakistanis have stopped demanding basic infrastructure. They have stopped demanding accountability, except for a few politicians. Because they have been fed this opium for the past 70 years. An opium which says that one day there will be 24/7 electricity. One day there will be water in the taps. And one day you might beat India in cricket. But that is going to happen once Kashmir is ours. Everything. So you sacrifice everything for Kashmir. You put your children's future on the line because one day we will have Kashmir. I want to tell you for the record, even heaven forbid, 1,000 times heaven forbid, if they get Kashmir, they will sell it like so much real estate. Because for them, it is nothing but real estate. They have sold off Punjab, they have sold off Sindh, they have sold off Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They will sell off Kashmir as well. Today, I go to Kashmir. Many of the people whom I speak to, Pakistanis, they speak about plebiscite. We are all aware that plebiscite has 3 stages. You want plebiscite? So be it. Let's have it. We are not afraid. But don't put the cart before the horse. You have to vacate Indian territory. The second point is, I cannot make a deal with you in 1947 and hope to encash it under the same circumstances in 2017. A deal is on the table only for a certain period of time. Kashmir, Jammu, Ladakh, Baltistan, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. These are legally Indian territories. This is our land that they've taken. And it should be our solemn resolve to get this land back. Because we call India Bharat Mata. We say India is our mother. If you cannot and will not defend your mother, whom will you defend? Now, there is this amazing narrative out there about the freedom movement in Kashmir. हमें क्या चाहिए आज? हमें क्या चाहिए आज? What do we want? We want ourselves. हिंदुस्तान 1947 में आजाद हो चुका है. No country becomes free twice. India is a free country. What we are faced, allow me to reiterate, what we are faced with on our doorsteps is the caliphate. Yes. There is proof of the caliphate in every corner, every mosque, every madrasa of Kashmir. There is proof of the existence and flourishing of the caliphate. The Sufi shrine culture of Kashmir is dead. वो जो थर्सडे की रात को चादर चढ़ाते थे वो खत्म हो गया मामला. Now what you have is the Wahhabi strain of Islam, where people come back carrying this virus from abroad and try to inject this virus into our bodies there. And the Indian Army defense, I have seen images of, in front of my eyes, I've seen the Indian Army literally lifting Srinagar on its shoulders after the flood. Literally lifting that entire city on its shoulders. I will give you an example today. You must have heard of that incidents of EDI Pampur, where over 150 employees were there and it was attacked by Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba and HM terrorists. And I would request you in your future conversations not to call them militants. They are not militants, they are terrorists. Under the outer and inner cordon of the Indian Army, the Jammu and Kashmir police slowly and slowly moved out. The hostages, there were approximately 130 to 150 of them. Once that was done, there was doubt in the minds of the Indian Army whether it's all clear or do we still have people inside. So, 2 officers went inside to tackle the terrorists one-on-one. That day, we lost 2 officers. We must remember them today. Captain Tushar Mahajan, 9 Para Special Force. Captain Pawan Kumar, 10 Para Special Forces. One was 26 years old, one was 28. We lost these 2 very fine officers. They could have very easily put a missile inside that building. And heaven knows there are many countries who are willing to do it. One hellfire missile and the building comes down. But then it takes us to another question. And before I lead into that question, I want to tell you that one of the people rescued by the Indian Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police was the son of Sayyid Salahuddin, the head of the Hizbul Mujahideen and the chairman of the United Jihad Council. That is why I say that the Indian Army is not just a powerful army, it's also a moral army. We are not strong because we have weapons, we are strong because we are right. And in this morality lies the strength of the Indian Army. After the unfortunate attack on Army Public School in Peshawar, in which 130 innocent children were massacred by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, there was no judge, there was no jury, there was no court. Within 24 hours, F-16 fighter jets took off. 203 millimeters, 155 mm. Helicopter gunships, they took off. And they flattened entire villages in North Waziristan because the Pakistani army should be seen in the eyes of the Pakistani people as to be taking action. They killed their own people because they wanted to show how tough they were. What weapons do we use in Kashmir? Let me tell you. How many of you have seen images of a CRPF Jawan standing with a broken shield and a lathi in his hand? And they speak about human rights violations in Kashmir. Have you seen the video of the CRPF Jawan, Vicky Vishwakarma, being slapped, kicked and abused? What about the human rights of the soldier? The Indian Army does not operate in populated areas in Kashmir. There is no Indian Army in Srinagar, except in 92 Base Hospital and Badami Bagh area. There is no Indian Army. There is no Indian Army in Baramulla. There is no Indian Army in Anantnag. It's all in the outskirts. In every single operation, there is a representative of Jammu and Kashmir Police who goes. Fake images of mass graves from Syria are floated on social media saying that this is Kashmir. Are there human rights violations in Kashmir? Of course there are human rights violations in Kashmir. Yes, in the past we have done wrong. But I can tell you, we've taken stock of the situation. There are officers and jawans who are serving long sentences in jail. People who have been stripped of rank, stripped of pension. They've been thrown into prison. That is what democracies do. There is accountability in the Indian Army. You must have all heard about the case of Major Gogoi.
Yes.
Suddenly in the Indian media, it came down to the dignity of the individual. So he said that you have tied a man on the bonnet of the Jeep. And then they say Kashmir is a war zone where hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. Pakistani statistics are fantastic. So in a war zone where supposedly hundreds of thousands of people are being killed, have been killed, half the state has disappeared into thin air, alright? Yet, your heart breaks for a guy tied on the bonnet of a Jeep. What could Gogoi have done? There is no written manual that this is how you will respond. Officers are supposed to take initiative. That is what officers do. And that is the teaching of the Indian Army right from the time the British left India. That is what we were taught. That officers are supposed to take initiative. That is what officers do. Now, maybe what he did was not the right thing. And I accede to that. But it wasn't wrong either. Try to put yourself in the shoes of a young army officer surrounded by a howling mob of 1,000 people with acid bottles, with Molotov cocktails and with rocks. You know, they say hindsight is always 20/20. And we can always say that, no, I could have done it better. But I don't see any solution. I think you did the right thing. Finally, I conclude by saying the Kashmir problem is not going away anytime soon. But suddenly stone pelting is almost stopped in the valley. You know why it has stopped?
Demonetization.
No, demonetization it stopped for I think 2-3 weeks.
NIA raids.
NIA raids. So the government said, we are not interested in those who are throwing stones. We are interested in those who are funding them. They put them in jail, and it's all nice and peaceful.
Calm.
In Kashmir, there is no stone pelting, but there is still a lot of poison.
Yes.
There is a lot of poison because there has been indoctrination over the past 25-30 years that needs to be sorted. And we are doing it in phases, and hopefully in the future we will see a better Kashmir, a more vibrant Kashmir, and hopefully without, pardon my language, without the nonsense of Article 370 and 35A. Jai. Thank you, Major. I suddenly have lost my voice because I feel very, very small. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from all of us. Thank you. I know you have a lot of questions. Yes. Thank you. Wait. Jason.
Especially for Major, just
Wait,
in a dinner suit.
Now, I look around the room and I see a lot of warriors. And Rami Ranger, who is our dearly beloved in this country, and we love him, we respect him for everything he's achieved and everything he's done for our communities and for this country. Rami ji will be the first one to ask the question because he also has to leave shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Major, I really was impressed listening to your story, and I'm going to give you something. Not only when you were born in Pakistan, then I was rejected by the quality control, moved to India. My father was assassinated before my birth. I'm a posthumous child. My father was against the partition, and he said to Mr. Jinnah, if you create a country on the basis of hatred, how will you remove that basis? So, my friend, if there is no Kashmir, Pakistan has to find one, because for the army to sustain their very lavish lifestyle. You know, my 5 brothers were commissioned officers. My mother got the proudest Indian mother title. So I'm going to give this to Major. He might recognize some of these guys. Picture him here. So, these are my brothers, 5 of them in the army. Going back 52 commission, this is me, this is my brother-in-law, this is the Longo battle, you'll see this. Oh, you have never seen a man with 5 brothers. Can I have a picture with you?
Yes, of course.
So I can put that on here.
Longo, sir.
Yeah, Longo. That's it. Yeah, behind him. No, he's in the
Yes.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to ask you 2-3 questions. First thing first, the partition took place without plebiscite and without the referendum of Indian people. It was wrong on the leaders to accept division of mother, cut her arms, cut her head, and we accepted the partition because they were too eager to become leaders. So that was wrong. And the other thing is, when Kashmir became part of India, that means this was our home. If some intruder comes into that house and he remains in one bedroom, it is our moral duty to get them out of their bedroom until we are satisfied it is safe. So we let this intruder stay for 70 years in that bedroom, from where he is causing a lot of problems. Number 3, Article 370 is the first to go and I'll tell you from here, Article 370 gives the wrong impression to Kashmiris. They're a special case. There are no special case. And I tell you today, Major, you will concur with me, my 5 brothers all fought in Kashmir. They were all there in Haji Pir and Baramun and all these places. And when they came back to their mother and mom, I feel like a mercenary soldier. She said, what do you mean by mercenary soldier? I have no right to buy land in Kashmir. I like to retire there. It's a beautiful country. And today, India has no right to send soldiers to defend their land where they cannot live and they cannot bring up their children and family. So 370 must be gone and abolished. Unless we are a mercenary army. Are we a mercenary army?
Absolutely not, sir.
Exactly. So that's number 1. So please, lobby, go on the public, social media, and bombard with Rajnath Singh and Modi. This is the time to remove the 370, and many offices of Indian big offices should be moved to Kashmir to bring a balanced subpopulation. Because what these done, these people are master of smash and grab. They started from 1947, and now they are already, because they never use merit. They use religion. They use religion not to further their cause, but to divide mankind and to take something which is legitimately wrong. I tweet every day that these people want to wrongful the Kashmiris with the help of religion card. So they want to make them second class overnight, like I was made in Pakistan. Yes, my ancestors lived for thousands of years. Overnight, because we were doing so well, businesses were done well, so okay, this is one way, use religion to wrongful the guy. So I think it's about time, Major. You're an inspiration to me, I follow, I retweet you as well, whether you have time to see, but I have been following you for a long time. Article 370 must go, and when German constitution was written, they said we will not rest till the Germany is united. And this should be written in the constitution. We will not rest till that intruder in my bedroom is removed.
We have a question from Aman. He raised his hand. Aman, you have a question? Please, could you introduce yourself so we know who you are?
I need to speak up.
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Amandeep Singh Bogle. I'm a former Conservative parliamentary candidate. But I was born in India, and I visited Jammu and Kashmir as a 4-year-old child. And this was just before the big trouble started. And it is a beautiful place. It is inherently Indian. I think the people there want peace. The people there want prosperity. And I think one thing I would like to ask the Major is, of course it's a bilateral issue. It's absolutely between India and Pakistan and the people of Jammu and Kashmir. But do you see any role for civil society elsewhere in the world, perhaps here in the UK, to play a role in bringing those two people together? I'm looking for the answer.
Yes. Sir, I see no role for civil society for the following reasons. Number one, civil society in UK has a voice, civil society in India has a voice, civil society in Pakistan has no voice. You know, all of you who are citizens of the UK here or settled down here matter to the UK government. You matter as individuals, as people. In India, people matter. In Pakistan, they don't matter. What matters is the Pakistan army. So this is not going to get sorted out because it's like us speaking to Nawaz Sharif. He doesn't matter. You know, we can keep on speaking to him till the cows come home. And it's not going to matter. They removed him, the Supreme Court removed an elected Prime Minister, and there are very, very strong indicators that it was done at the behest of Rawalpindi, because he had become an embarrassment. So there is no point. I have all the sympathies with Pakistan civil society, all the sympathies, and I know they are victims. I believe they are victims. But sir, they have no power. Their voice does not matter in Pakistan, so it's not going to be solved by civil society.
Thank you. Oh dear. Let's bring in the lady. Lady at the back, please. Could you say your name and also tell us who you are briefly?
My name is Preet, and my mother told me stories. I come from Sikh background, so my mother told me stories about how our 9th Guru fought for Kashmiri independence. So it was very humbling to hear about that. So for the last 10 years, my study has been more spiritual, and I believe in peace, and I also believe when I'm stabilized in peace, and other beings cannot bring their energy of violence around me. So I wonder what your thoughts are about that. I don't believe that we can cut the violence with more violence. So it's like the war. So if they're going to do more violence, we're going to do more violence. It's never ending. So although I have admiration for your work that you've done, but I'm keen to understand. So my spiritual study says that when we stabilize in peace, that other energy cannot enter our aura, and I feel all the wars happening in the world is all the mesh of energy of violence and kindness. So if we stabilize with peace and love, then we have peace and love around.
All right. My apologies, I'm going to have to go to another meeting, but can I thank you for your outstanding presentation. Thank you actually for obviously organising tonight, and we will take this forward. The things that you said, we will make sure are widespread throughout the country, particularly amongst the Indian diaspora, but equally, I have to say, amongst the Pakistani diaspora. And particularly those who are Kashmiri origin need to hear the truth rather than the propaganda that has been put upon them. And I'll also just say while I'm here, we do have apologies from a number of parliamentarians because this is a Thursday evening. Many people who are parliamentarians have to return to their constituencies or have other events they have to attend. But I think otherwise they would have been here to honour us and join the All-Class Parliamentary Group, including Teresa Villiers, including Paul Scully, Verinda Sharma, David Ennis, Lord Giardia, and I think Paris Nicholson as well, who also been here as well.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. You always come.
It will return to its place of pride. Sorry.
I want to add one more thing in that. So I think if we see people who are violent, if we see them not as violent people, but maybe say if persons in their right mind, they will not harm any other human being or another being.
Can I just interrupt? Sorry, because a lot of people ask questions.
Okay, ma'am.
I will have to cut down your questions.
Ma'am, I'll very quickly try and answer your question. Ma'am, peace is the end result of war. Number one. You cannot have peace unless you have a very, very strong army which guarantees that peace. And peace has to be defended with violence. Unless you happen to be living in Canada or Switzerland. even in Singapore, and I'll tell you what is wrong with our country. The problem with India is that we've been reading and teaching our children the wrong kind of history. Alright? The problem is that we think that we got independence through non-violence, and today there is nobody to take Shahid Bhagat Singh's name. That is the problem. Our ancestors were Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, our ancestors were Shivaji, our ancestors were Rana Pratap. But no, it was Chacha who did everything. That is the problem. Also, these people are not sick. Many of them are doctors, many of them are professors, many of them are scientists. You know, many of them are gold medalists in chemical engineering. It's just that they decided to use that knowledge to make bombs. These people cannot be reasoned with. This year we killed 157 terrorists. And the Indian army will keep on killing these people till the time they pose a danger to the civilian population. Because ma'am, there is no way that you can reason with these people. These people are not mentally deranged people. These people are not mad people. They are not sick people. They are very clear what they are doing. They are extremely clear. If a man can sit down, if a man can plan a terrorist attack, if a man can get finances for it, get manpower, motivate people, how are we saying that this man is certifiably insane?
That's academic knowledge. I'm talking about he doesn't have.
Sorry, we will not to follow up questions.
Let's be quick.
Yes.
So, brief question.
Brief question. I won't give I hate lectures. I'm a surgeon. We just operate into surgical strike.
You have 5 seconds.
Dr.
Sorry,
Vivek,
go on.
I'm a surgeon and just want to, we have been here many times thanks to Lakshmi, and we have always defended Indian Army. We always said that because of Indian Army, Kashmir belongs to India. Otherwise we would have lost it because of politicians.
Yes.
The question is very simple, sir. Two small questions. How would you advise us to counter the Pakistani propaganda in this country, which always say that we got 7 lakh army all over in Kashmir region, which is wrong. Second thing is, as war case scenario, what will happen if we cross LOC and beat Pakistan? Because that is where we have to beat their back. What will happen if we cross LOC and dismantle the whole terrorist organization?
Yes, sir. So two things, sir. First of all, we already have a very good narrative. It is just that we don't push that narrative. I think what we should do is push it through social media, push it through such forums, and keep pushing that narrative. About 7 lakh Indian Army soldiers being there in Kashmir, Pakistanis make up these figures.
I know.
One day it's 6 lakhs, one day it's 8 lakhs. Just ka mood hua, whichever side of the bed he gets out of, he says, "Aaj main 7 lakh doonga." So it has no validity at all. And as you mentioned, what will happen when we cross the line of control, sir? Nothing will happen. But it will be a mistake if we kill terrorists. Because you can keep on killing terrorists, you will never kill terrorism. You have to strike at the root, and the root is in Rawalpindi, it is not in Srinagar.
Lavina?
Yes.
Very rightly pointed out that the policy of India would not allow democracy in this country to go throughout.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't hear you.
Very rightly pointed out that the diplomacy of India would not allow the democracy of the country to go throughout India.
Yes.
And democracy in Pakistan does not exist, or at least pseudo exists. In that scenario, how do you see the issue of Kashmir being resolved all at the table?
First of all, what we should do is ignore Kashmir as a problem. And I will tell you why. Understand that the problem is the deep state of Pakistan. I reiterate. War is business for Pakistan. The Fauji Foundation, the net worth of the Fauji Foundation is over $20 billion US.
Oh my God.
It's a business.
We don't have business.
It's bigger than TCS and Infosys put together. Fauji Foundation, they sell everything from chips to atta to cement to everything. And they get contracts by scaring the other guy. They do that. It's like the Sicilian mafia. So you have to understand, man, you can keep on doing, we have been doing operations in Kashmir for so many years. We have not achieved anything. The trick is to go across. Because the problem is, I'm talking about killing Pakistan army, not terrorists. And there is no point in killing terrorists. ये तो जाहिल लोग हैं ना terrorists. ये तो मदरसे से उठाया उसको brain wash करा.
आपका मतलब है पाकिस्तान आर्मी पूरा कैसे
पूरा नहीं करना पाकिस्तान आर्मी को.
Follow-up questions later, please.
नहीं, I will just answer your question. It's a very important question. पूरी पाकिस्तानी आर्मी से जंग लड़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. You know what they do? They attack our military camps. Who do we lose? We lose soldiers, right? And they lose terrorists who are expendable. The day they start losing soldiers, they will understand. Speak to them in the language that they understand.
Shefali.
Mr. Kamal.
During my life, I was really thrilled to listen to each and every letter and word you say. Maybe you probably can hear. And thank you very much to anarchists on this propaganda, talking about which we represent each other. We want to represent the interests of India, our motherland.
Sure.
In this country, you mentioned UK is a civil society, but there is a major opposition party here. You can see none of their MPs came here, right? And all of us should understand which party is our friend, right? Labour Party, Mr. Blackman, 27 years has been
Questions around
the JNK issue in Parliament. None of the Labour Party, and guess what? Who are the Labour workers? So everybody understands. So what do you think the political party in this country, what role can they play to make JNK part of India?
Sir, I apologize in advance. You may be offended by my answer, sir, so I'll start with an apology. It doesn't matter what the Labour Party thinks, sir. This is between... This is, you know, you can argue inside a hall for 10 years. The real solution lies with the soldier who has a weapon, who's operating in Kashmir. And that soldier who's giving his life for India, that soldier who's fighting wars with Pakistan, does not even know there is a Labour Party. So it's inconsequential.
Thank you. Shifalika. Hi, my name is Shifali, and I'm a Kashmiri Hindu, Indian first, obviously, and then Kashmiri Hindu by ethnic origin. My question is a bit personal.
Yes, ma'am.
You know our story, you know what happened to us. Everybody here knows our story. I've said it here myself many times.
Yes, ma'am.
The thing is, a lot of our friends, some of them might be sitting here, I don't know, call us by the term bhagodas. Yeah, so we left, you know, my dad is here as well. We left midnight, January 89, and you talked about howling mobs, you talked about people wanting to rape and kill and this and that. That's what we faced, yeah? So what is your, I mean, it's very hurtful after 27 years to hear, to sit among friends, and people call you that on Facebook, social media, wherever.
Yes,
it is very hurtful. So I want you to say what
Ma'am,
your views are on that.
Ma'am, it's very simple. Syrians are refugees, Rohingyas are refugees, Kashmiri Pandits are bhagodas.
Yeah, absolutely.
है ना? पहली चीज. Now, they say that there are human rights violations in Kashmir. Wherever there are human rights violations, wherever there is genocide, the entire population leaves. That is why the Kashmiri Pandits left, because a gun was put on their head, and they had to leave. That is why the Syrians left Syria. That is why the Rohingyas left Burma. Why hasn't the local Kashmiri Muslim population left Kashmir?
Yeah.
Because there is nothing happening there. वहाँ पे कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. वहाँ पे मजे हो रहे हैं. India is giving money, 20,000 crores, 30,000 crores. People are buying property here in Mayfair. And you know, if you ask, what is the source of income of Farooq Abdullah? ये उमर अब्दुल्ला के पास से लैंड क्रूजर चलाने के पैसे कहाँ से आते हैं? ये जो कश्मीरियों के पैसे उनसे आते हैं. That is how it happens, and that is what they do, ma'am. And this is a family business there, right? They say Indian Army ने ये कर दिया. Everything. I was in Srinagar. I was surprised that taxi driver The roads are potholed inside Srinagar city, and he says, Modi kuch karta hi nahi, chahta hi nahi Kashmir mein tarakki ho. Modi ne banani hai road aapko.
Absolutely.
You are supposed to do it. It's a state government job. It's not a national highway. So, ma'am, there are dual standards. It is, we as a country in the past have been cowardly. We could not save our Kashmiri Pandit brothers. It's our fault. ये हमारे मुल्क का काले
Go on, Sheen, and then Puneet.
If and when the war ends, how do you think that will affect both the countries?
Pretty cute though. Sweetheart, there's no war actually right now. but yes, you're saying when the conflict ends, I think it will be good for both India and Pakistan. There is a small matter of the territory that they've taken from us. If they give back territory to us, we can be the best of friends with Pakistan. We do not have any enmity in our hearts for Pakistan, the common Pakistani. He's our brother, he's our friend. They have taken away territory. They should just give back that territory and we can be very good friends.
We still want to win cricket. India will still want to win cricket. India will still want to win their cricket against them.
Absolutely.
Puneet.
Hello. So this entire state of Jammu and Kashmir from time immemorial has always been a part of India. Not for any other continent or any other empire or kingdom. It was always a part of India. And I hope it will remain part of India. But even during the Mughals or Islamic period, entire population of India were free to go anywhere they like, set up their business, take their wares, set up residence. There was no passport, no visa or nothing. When do you think that right will be restored back to the Indians to go and set up businesses in Jammu and Kashmir?
So that is only possible after 370 goes. 370 goes.
That is the biggest.
You will have people from Ludhiana buying up real estate like crazy overnight.
Another question.
Sorry, one question only. Please sit down. There are other people. Please do understand. Thank you.
My name is Piyajit. Thank you very much for your presentation. I would just ask you, how would you agree is that Pakistan claims it's a victim of terrorism. Would it be fair to say then cocaine is a victim of addiction?
Absolutely. Brilliant analogy. Pakistan, Hillary Clinton, she went to Pakistan and she made the statement that you can't, have snakes in your backyard and expect them to only bite your enemy. The very unfortunate case which I mentioned of APS Peshawar, Tehreek-e-Taliban, you see Taliban, everything, all these people are created by Pakistan. And now it's like the Frankenstein monster which you can't manage any longer, you can't control. Yes, Pakistan is a victim of terrorism, but that terrorism is of its own making. And we are also victims of Pakistani terrorism which they themselves made. That is the truth.
Thank you.
Great. Raj, go on.
Every time India takes a tough stand in Pakistan, from Indian side this Aman Ki Asha comes and then there is noise. What will be your message to these people from Indian side? What message would you like to give them?
So, as I mentioned to the lady, I could not complete, ma'am, what I told you. It's a similar thing. See, Aman Ki Asha, we are all for Aman. And I'll tell you, I am from the Indian Army and I speak to Indian Army generals and officers. We also want peace with Pakistan. We just want peace with honor. That is all. हमें इज्जत के साथ अमन चाहिए. वो इज्जत पाकिस्तान देने को राजी नहीं है. That is one problem. The second problem is that I do not want to say anything which is controversial here because I'm answerable to Lakshmi who's sitting here. And she'll get extremely upset. But I can tell you that, I'll just say this, that, for too long, it has been drummed into our mind that we are a pacifist nation. For too long, it has been told that आप लोग traditionally non-violent. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. I have all the respect for Mahatma Gandhi. All right? But I can also tell you that if the Sikh Gurus had not been there, there would have been no Hindus.
That lady there.
I saw your lecture program about the handicapped, the injured soldiers. It's brilliant. Absolutely very, very heartwarming to see them still having that spirit inside them. Thank you very much for that. My question is, you said you have to go after the deep state in Pakistan.
Yes,
how are we going to do that, and what's the plan of the Indian government if they have to go after the deep state?
What is your name, sorry?
My name is Chitra Ravi.
Okay, ma'am, about the plan I won't know. Because I think you'll have to write an email to Mr. Ajit Doval, he can tell you what the plan is. Because I don't know the plan, I'm just a defense consultant, but I can tell you, ma'am, the Pakistan Army's nerve center is the officer corps of the Pakistan Army. If you hit the officer corps of the Pakistan Army, you know, they will come down to their knees. We have to understand, it's like killing a Ravan. We are shooting at the heads. You have to shoot him in the navel and then he will die. We have to understand what pinches Pakistan. वो कहते हैं ना हिंदी में जादूगर की जान जो है वो तोते में होती है. So you have to wring the neck of the parrot. The parrot is the Pakistani army. You have to figure out ways. Now they have brigade headquarters which are 4-5 kilometers deep inside the line of control towards their side. They have brigade headquarters. Next time they bomb a school, don't touch civilians. I'm telling you, I'm very clear about this. We are not here to harm civilians. We are not here to cause collateral damage. Because that poor fellow staying there is a poor man. And what kind of an army would the Indian army be if we started targeting civilians? We are not that sort of people. But the day you target the brigade headquarters, we have weapons. You must have heard of the MBRL, the multi-barrel rocket launcher Pinaka, with a range of 40 kilometers. We are upgrading it to 80 kilometers. It can turn an area of 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer into ash. It will take 23 seconds to reach that brigade headquarters after being fired, and that brigade headquarters will disappear. You have to hit the Pakistan army. There is no other way. You see, it is very critical that we understand this. ये हमारा पूरा जो मौजू है, ये our whole narrative is so cockeyed, it's so wrong. ये कर दो, इससे it will not solve anything. The problem is in Rawalpindi. The problem is nowhere else. It's in Rawalpindi. If you solve that problem, down the line, even Pakistanis will be grateful.
But Major, who makes the decision?
Sorry?
Who makes the decision to actually fire that missile?
No.
Someone has to at some point.
See, the big boss is the Prime Minister. But he will not say, the Prime Minister will not get into nitty-gritties that fire this missile, that is right. He will give an overall message.
Chief, isn't it?
Sorry?
That's the army chief.
Ma'am, not even the army chief, ma'am. The div commander at his level. We have enough resources, and thankfully, I can tell you that under this government, there has been a huge amount of latitude given to the armed forces. Huge amount of latitude given to the armed forces, which was not there earlier. So, one more thing which I'd like to point out. One more thing. You know, we conducted the surgical strikes. This was the first time in the history of the Indian Army that the Prime Minister stood up and owned up. He said, "Maine aadesh diya hai."
Richard Hunter, you're remarkably close to this story and you've been tracking it for a very long time. I'm curious, if we reconvene here in 5 years, how do you think the story is going to have changed? Are you optimistic, pessimistic?
I'm optimistic that if the government continues its policy over the next 5 years, Kashmir is going to look very, very different. Because, unfortunately, what is happening in India is that and it's been happening all throughout, I will not blame X or Y political party for it. Whenever somebody tries to do something, you know, there are 10 people who will oppose it just because they feel that it is their duty to oppose it. And they will go and oppose it. But I can tell you, Kashmir's issue will be sorted out. There is a massive outreach program which is happening at the grassroots level. Simple si baat hai, sir. Simple si baat hai. Speak to the common Kashmiri. Circumvent the Hurriyat conference. Make them zero. Cut off their funding. Speak to the common man. Continue anti-terror operations. Keep putting pressure on the Pakistani army and the Pakistani government. Things will fall into place.
One last question. You asked 15 questions already. One last question.
Vinod Ekande se
Vinod. Come here.
I can ask in private.
Sorry, please. Raghuji.
Yes, I'm Kaya Raghuvan, aka Rags. I'm an investor as well as a board director of this startup.
Sure.
Okay. Fantastic speech of yours. I appreciate it. Thank you. The question I have is, the government has now appointed an interlocutor.
Yes, sir.
Right? But with the condition that they swear allegiance to India,
sir,
that they be talked to. which I think is a very good move. And I think it is in the same strain of Modi doing everything that is possible within his powers to remove the internal oxygen that is provided by some within the country to Pakistani activities, and particularly from places like Kerala and some parts of Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes, sir.
So do you agree with me, which I thought in the last question you already answered the question by saying that in the next 5 years there's going to be a phenomenal movement.
Yes, sir.
And I believe that, and I just want to ask you whether that is exactly what you felt, but you pretty much answered the question last time.
No, absolutely.
Right. No more questions. But we will request you to email us your questions and we will have them answered. You have the email address on the poster that was circulated. Email jk713@gmail.com. I will write it down for you if you'd like me to. I've got some sheets of paper. Now before we depart, I'd like to say a big thank you. I've not seen in this room 15 questions answered back to back like that. Major, you are truly a fighter. Thank you. Now, because I have had some very special messages, Major, on this occasion from India, from Jammu and Kashmir. And it will be unfair if I didn't share those messages with you. And I'm hoping that IT will cooperate.
IT is...
Recorded it.
2 minutes.
While you're waiting for this to turn on, there are a couple of announcements. Shweta, do you want to announce the university programs and how to register?
Can you...
Do it now. We know this sort it out. I'll sort it out. So you make it quick. We don't have time. There are 2 university programs that I'd like Shweta to tell you where Major's speaking. Tomorrow he's speaking at Oxford and she'll give you the details. On Saturday there's a King's College debate and we'll give the details.
So I cordially invite you to watch the Major in action. It's going to be a combat role at both Oxford and in King's College London. So Oxford is tomorrow. It's 2 to 4. All the events are put up on Facebook. You can check Lakshmi's, mine, or the Jammu Kashmir Festival pages. And on Saturday, the big session, it's going to be Lord Nazir Ahmed versus Major with a lot of other supporters of India as well as people from Pakistan. So please do turn up. And a big thank you to Lakshmi and Bob for actually arranging this. And Major, I don't think we couldn't have put this better. People obviously keep saying that, so Mother and Motherland are more than heaven itself. You've put that so eloquently, so thank you so much. And I hope to see all of you at both Oxford and London.
That sounds working?
Yep.
So the Facebook
for the second year in a row is a matter of honor to me. I have a reason to read Mr. Bob Blackman, the parliament member of the Conservative Party in the House of Commons, for his special and unflagging support to the Jammu and Kashmir Festival being organized in London for the second year. I have a reason to appreciate with an unmeasured appreciation to the Chief Curator, Ms. Lakshmi Kaur, and her team for a special time to showcase the essence of Jammu and Kashmir Festival internationally. The Jammu and Kashmir, the accession of Jammu and Kashmir happened on 26 October 1947 in the same way as the other entities of the other states of India. This festival magnificently showcases the special features and peculiarities of all the three regions that is Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. This standout feature needs special appreciations as an outstanding and harmonious theme. Once again, I greet and congratulate everybody in India who is celebrating Accession Day and equally to the people who are celebrating Jammu Kashmir Festival in London. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
That was Surinder Ambardarji, who is the MLC from BJP in sort of looking after Kashmir.
As most of you are aware, the state of Jammu and Kashmir was put together by the founder ruler of the Dogra dynasty, Maj Gaurav Arya. It consisted of 3 distinct regions and sub-regions of Jammu province: Kashmir Valley, Ladakh, Gilgit-Baltistan, and Mirpur-Muzaffarabad state. The Dogra ruler was the only one to extend the boundaries of this princely state to the frontiers of Tibet. Maharaja Hari Singh was last ruler of J&K until he acceded to India 100 years later on October 26, 1947, under difficult circumstances. We are living in trying times. Today, more than ever, I would like to emphasize the need to carry people of all communities and regions of the state together. Every day we see slanderous and evocative remarks and gestures being cited, followed by angry and violent protests. I believe that it is not just the responsibility of our government, but also that of our citizens, of our country and the state to work towards maintaining peace and tranquility at every level. I often draw inspiration from Maharaja Hari Singh's quote when he acceded the throne in 1926. He said, "All religions are mine and my religion is justice." Even till this day, when I tour the remote regions of Jammu and Kashmir, people often remark, "Maharaja ka daur ek aman ka waqt tha." It is the need of the hour to bring back aman and shanti to our state. Today, we must strive to deliver justice to all the people of Jammu and Kashmir, collectively and bridging the growing communal and regional divide in the state. While celebrating Accession Day, let us pledge to play our part in achieving this goal. I would like to congratulate Honourable Julia and
Sorry, I'll just cut that there. There was one more message from Stanzin Dawaji from Ladakh, which I've not been able to get on the laptop, but I will share it on the Facebook page. These messages.
We're going to put the event details on screen here, so please do check that out before you leave.
Sure. Can I quickly say a big thank you to all of you? I know you have lots more questions, and it is right that you have all those questions. But what I will request in the presence of the Major, who has been fighting not just on the borders, not just on ground, but has been fighting literally on ground zero, because that's where our narrative changes. The narrative is out there. We need to get it out. That's our responsibility. And I will introduce you all to Because We Care. You remember this? Major, this year in January there was a debate in the Parliament on Kashmir. And unfortunately, Bob Annually Virendra Sharma MP spoke in favour of India or in defence of India. Not even one other MP. And I know when Parmati says that there is nobody here representing us, it is actually right. They will come for Diwali, they will come for Holi, they will come for sweets, and they will come for garlanding. But when it comes for them to come and speak up for us, they don't do it. And it is not their fault, it is our fault. Because it is our responsibility to make it happen, irrespective of party political side. I would like you all to take this back with you. If you haven't seen this already, please read it. Please look at who your MP is. Please try and communicate with them. If they don't listen, keep talking to them again and again. Talk to some other people who will listen to you. It's just politics. Talk to your councillors as well. There's one councillor here who's very active. He's always there. I've actually reached out. He's not even my councillor.
No, but
I've reached out to you at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he has made things happen. There is political will out there. You just need to make sure you tap into it. I know it's been a long evening. There are children here. We need to go home. To say a quick thank you. I know Rashmi is there showing me some flowers. Quickly come forward. On behalf of inspiring Indian women, she'd like to present that to you, Major.
Yeah, I want to give this to you for the women behind you, and mostly your mother, who has given us this shape. And she's one of the most inspiring ladies for us today, that you are with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
और हम हमारे जो बड़े हैं हम उनको बुलाते हैं थैंक यू बोलने के लिए. So Satish ji, I will give you the honor's job of saying thank you to everyone and a quick word of thanks from you, because I know I didn't take your question. Thank you.
It's okay, it will cost you a lunch.
All right.
No, a lunch is only. No, but thank you very much, actually. As Lakshmi ji has said, I'm with the National Council of Hindu Temples, And we work at the grassroots with a lot of the religious and interfaith aspects with the Hindu Forum Group and other organisations. But one thing we are facing is that within our own domestic communities, radicalisation is a very serious issue. And one of the biggest contributors towards radicalisation is a lack of self-pride, a lack of self-confidence, and also a lack of self-knowledge in terms of our history and the reality of what's happening on the ground. Major Aryaji, we've been following you for a long time, and I would say that on the ground, one of the biggest contributions that you've made is to reintroduce the notion to our own community and to our youngsters that there is actually something to be proud of as opposed to something to be diminutive and diminishing. So on behalf of all of our communities here, and thank you Lakshmanji for the honour of doing this, I would just like to extend our gratitude for the work that you've done, and we hope and wish that you can interact with us more, and we look forward to seeing you at other events. Finally, everybody, thank you so much for coming to Parliament.
Freedom of religion and belief, I do hope you take back the message that respect everyone. And like Major said very, very beautifully, the war is not against civilians. We do not attack civilians. I mean, I'm not in the armed forces. But this is not a war against people. This is a war against a certain ideology and terrorism. And let us not forget that. So that peace and harmony will return. And Jammu and Kashmir Festival will keep happening, and in the glorious sort of shadow of the Indian blessing. Thank you. Thank you, Madhuji, for coming. And any media interviews can happen now. Photographs. Do you want to do media interviews after the pictures or do that before?
Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Jai!